Okay, so here we have our circuitry for our entire fuel pump system and injectors in there. So right now we're going to be looking at our fuel pump. So here we can see it's fed hot at all times by fuse 13, it's 15 amp fuse. It's the underhead fuse block in the engine compartment. So you can see it goes down to pin 30, 87 connects, goes all the way down and over, all the way down to our fuel pump, and then grounds here under the right tail light or stop and turn signal light. So this relay is grounded here, and it gets its power from the ECM at the fuel pump relay control. You can see that's the ECM right there. So that's the fuel pump system. Now we're going to be going on to a different test for the fuel pump. We're going to be listening to it key on, engine off. We're going to be listening. All right, here we are in the vehicle. It's a Chevy HHR. So you can hear the fuel pump. If you listen very intently, you can hear it. So we're going to turn the key on, engine off. So the engine's not running, but we're key almost on. And you heard a little bit of a whine. It may not show up on video, but I heard there's a little bit of a whine and then it stops. That's how you know that the fuel pump is working. Now it turns off because it's not in the running position, so the fuel pump sees that you don't want to start the vehicle, so it's just going to stop. It's just making it so the fuel goes to the injectors and pressurizes the system all the way. So now we're going to turn the car off and we're going to continue our test. Okay, so here I'll be performing a voltage drop test over the fuel pump relay. This is just going to be on the diagram since we already did it on the car and we confirmed it was good. So the switch is just a simple piece of metal, so you shouldn't lose very much voltage over it. Maybe a rule of thumb is like 100 millivolts. So what you want to do is you want to get your volt or ohm meter, put it on the volts, have your negative lead or positive lead. It doesn't matter. You just want to be able to get onto your contact point. So pin 30, pin 87. You can use a relay testing tool. That'll help you a lot to get those. Makes it a lot easier. So we should be able to get that. We should be reading, at least we read 0.2 volts. So about it's like 200 millivolts, something like that, which is okay. We want between 100 and 400 millivolts. That's as much as we want to lose. That's perfectly fine. That's normal. And then if you want to do on the coil side, you do voltage test. Do the same setup, a positive, negative cable. You should test. It should be source voltage because you're using all of it. So it's going to be your charge voltage. So because it's losing all of it because it's just ground. It's just the only load in this particular circuit. So they control the power, load, ground. So this will be using all the power. So it should drop everything. So you'll be reading 12 volts. All right, here we have a fuel pump and sending unit. Right here, we're going to bench test it. So I have it connected right here at the connectors for the fuel sending unit. And as you can see, the float for the fuel level that measures level, it's going to be all the way down. So this is going to be empty. Here we have, let's see, 205 point, we'll say 0.2 ohms. And then as we lift this up, the amount of resistance drops. So here we're all the way up, it's full. We're at 30, we'll call it 34 ohms. So we have 34 ohms when it's full, and then as it drops, it goes down again, or it goes up again rather. So that's how the fuel gauge knows when to move the needle or the dial or whatever kind of system it uses to show the level of fuel on the gauge cluster, how to move the needle or how to show how much fuel is in the tank. So that's a fuel sending unit and pump unit. Here we have our fuel pressure set. We have our fuel pressure gauge right here. We have it all connected with an adapter to the fuel rail right here. As you can see, connected nice and tight. We have the car running. Now it stops. So as you can see, we have 56 or 57 PSI. That's fuel pressure. And for this car, that's pretty good spec. So we know that our fuel pressure is good on this test. All right, so here we have a Noid lighting test. So we've disconnected the connector from a fuel injector, this one, which is going to be connector 1 or injector 1. We took this light, it goes into the connector and it'll light up as the ignition timing goes. Go ahead and start it up. As you can see, the light's flashing. The light flashes as the circuit so that injector closed. So we know that it's working. The circuit's working. Okay, so here we have a injector sound kit. So here we have, this is a stethoscope. It has a small point, so you put these in your ears. As you get somebody who starts a vehicle, you take the point and you put it right on the injector, and you hear a very small clicking. It'll sound pretty loud, and if it sounds pretty faint, it's probably not on. And that's how you know that the injector is actually clicking, it's turning on, it's working. Here we are going to show you the injector circuitry. So here we have the relay, powertrain relay. It's going to be hot at all times. So you have the coil and the ground side. It goes all the way to the powertrain relay control at the ECM. So here we have, after the switch, you can see it goes all the way down over to the injector ignition module fuse, 45, 10 amp. It goes all the way down and over, and it splits off to the 4 injectors. So you have 2, 4, 3, 1. And then they are loads, and then they ground out to, each of them have their own. So injector 2 control, injector 4 control, injector 3, and injector 1 control. And they ground out to ECM, left side of engine, right there. And then that has its own ground right here on the front left of the corner of the transmission. So that's that circuit right there. Alright, here we're doing a resistance check on this injector right here. As you can see, we have them all plugged in and attached to our leads. And we have our digital multimeter attached. And here we're reading 12.8 ohms, which is in spec right now. So we're good. Alright, here we're going to be bench testing the fuel pump relay. So we have it set up here to 87 and pin 30 on the relay. Go ahead and start the vehicle. So as you can see, that's the switch side closed. We're at 10.6 volts, which is exactly what we want. That's spec. It's running bad because we don't have some injectors plugged in, but that's okay. So that's what we have. That's doing pretty good. Right, so I have my connector to the injector all plugged in. We have our balance tester. We've had the fuel in it. You can see it has pressure in it. So now I'm gonna press this button. Start. You can see it dropped to 25. So you can see from 56 to 25, which is pretty good. That's exactly okay. So here I have my fuel pump section of my diagram. Here we're going to be testing power. So this is an example of how we test power. So we have our voltmeter set to volts. We're going to have our negative lead to ground. Here, this is just a ground point. It can be anywhere. And then right here we have the power in, which is a gray wire on the fuel pump. We're going to be testing that. It should be source voltage.